Good morning, good evening, whatever time you're watching this. If you read the title of the video, you already know what's about to happen. But if you didn't read the title of the video and you just clicked on it, I'm in my garage right now with the Miata and the 240. Today is all about revealing to you guys my new project car, my 2003 Nissan 350Z. Alright, so this is my new to me Nissan 350Z. So giving you guys a little bit of a walk around of the car. It is pretty rough. As you can see, there's flaky paint with dirt falling out of the front bumper. Obviously this thing has seen better days. This is a 2003. It is the DE, it is not the HR. But yeah, walking around, you can see that it is lowered. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But yes, it is on coilovers. I mean, not the best example of a 350, but you know, it's not too bad. It's definitely savable and fixable, but you guys might have different opinions on that once you see this side of the car. So you'll kind of start understanding what the plan is now that you see this. This car is going to be my drift car. This is going to be the car that I learned how to drift on. I went to the drift event in my last video and saw a few Z's drifting around, and I was like, well, this seems like a pretty good chassis to start on. It comes with pretty good power for what it is, and it seems like a pretty good chassis to learn on. So yeah, there is some significant damage to the rear quarter and to the door. The door actually still functions. Everything opens, closes, the glass is still okay. So it's not too bad, but it's definitely gonna need some body work down the road, but I don't plan on correcting any of that until the car is fully drivable. And so getting into how I got this car belonged to a friend of mine named Rem. Rem was a friend from high school, a super nice guy, and he listed this car on Facebook Marketplace. And I was at work and my coworkers saw this car on Facebook and were like, hey, you know, they always joke and call it a Jimmy spec when it's a white car because they know that I like white cars, but they were like, hey, there's a Jimmy spec 350 that just got listed. It's got a little bit of damage, but it doesn't look too bad. I said, really? So I looked, saw the seller's name, saw that it was Rem, reached right out to Rem because I have his phone number. It was a done deal from there. I basically that day went and picked up the car, had it towed to my house, and you might be wondering, well, why did you have it towed? And so that gets me into the next few things. So not only did Rem get T-boned by a guy downtown, I guess the collision was only like 20 miles an hour or something like that, pretty minor, so there shouldn't be any frame damage or any damage to the actual performance of the car. It's mainly cosmetic, and so that's one of the reasons that I bought this car. But the other reason that I had it towed was because the DE has rod knock. At least I'm pretty sure it does. So I'll pop up a video of it right now. As you can hear, it is pretty bad. I don't know for sure if it's rod knock. I'm 90% sure. I'm really not that experienced on Z chassis at all. This is my first time owning a V6 car, so there's gonna be a lot to learn. But yeah, that's kind of the plan, is to swap this with another DE from another 350Z and then get out on track and get some freaking track time under my belt, because honestly, I haven't had enough time to do track stuff, and I don't really want to take the Miata out because I feel like it's a little too nice, and I don't want to take the 240 out because it's way too nice. And so I needed something that was basically my missile, and so this is the perfect car for it, because it's a little bit, you know, banged up and stuff. It's not perfect. It probably will never be perfect down the road, but I'm gonna try. You know, I'm gonna start drifting and probably leave the damage for now and put some paint over it. But once I start drifting, get more experience, maybe I'll clean this thing up a little bit, revive it. But yeah, so all that this car has done right now, it is on BC coilovers. I don't know what series yet. I haven't even taken the wheels off the car yet to check. I do know it's on BC coilovers, so we've got that going for us. So that's one check mark off of the stuff to get this track ready. So the next thing is going to be basically engine swapping this car. So let's walk into the interior and I will show you guys what we're working with. So this is the DE in all of its glory. Obviously you can't really tell that anything's wrong. It just looks like a factory motor, but I'm pretty sure it either has a bearing that is spun based off the sound, or it just has plain old rod knock. I don't know which one it is, but yeah, so I'm gonna be diagnosing that and figuring out what it is and if I should fix it or if I should direct swap it. So I need to talk to some 350Z guys and figure out what the best course of action is, because honestly I don't know what would be better, to just buy a new motor, because they're like $800-900 pre-owned obviously, but for a low mile one you can get them for about $800 to $900, and maybe that would be worth it to just pull it out, direct swap one in, and then leave this as a donor motor and just take parts off of it when needed. I think that's what I'm going to end up doing. I have enough room back here to pull the motor and do everything I need to do. Obviously the 240 also needs to get an engine swap done, but I'm not going to be doing that out here simply because the car is too nice and I'm waiting till I have the proper space to do the proper engine swap for that. This car obviously has a little bit more jankiness to it, and so I can get away with swapping it outside. I don't really care if the engine bay gets dirty. Obviously it is a factory white car. It's the first factory white car that I've owned, which is kind of funny that this is the one that I end up owning that's originally white. So I can clean up the engine bay a little bit, do some helpful mods, and that's where I kind of need your guys' help on this. If you guys own Z's or you guys have experience with Z chassis, I want to know what kind of mods that you guys recommend when getting track ready. I know that obviously I have the coilovers, and that is one of the biggest steps towards getting everything ready. I don't know if I need different sway bars. I don't know if I need different tires and different wheels. I don't know. So I'm kind of just going into this a little bit blind. I know that it is a good chassis and that it will work for what I need it to do. My end goal with this car is to make it look nice once I have some experience on the track, but for now my goal is to just get it running and driving and figure out all the kinks, figure out things that need to be fixed. Along with the motor being blown, he also said that one of the gears grinds, so I might have to replace a synchro in that or find a new CD009 to swap in and then use this transmission once I pull it out with the motor to adapt onto my SR. That would be probably a good swap and would probably help the 240 out a little bit, so that way I don't have to worry about launching the 240 and having something break in the SR's factory transmission. So those are kind of the options that I'm going over in my head and trying to figure out. So yeah, but overall, not a bad car. I feel like it is fixable for anybody who's in the body shop world. If you could give me an idea of how bad this would be to fix, I think it's going to be kind of a pain, but I don't know for sure. I don't know if there's a way that we could weld right here where it had impact and pull it out, or what the best case would be. So I don't want to wide body this car. I'd like to keep this car factory body if I can. Obviously this thing has pretty bad damage on the quarter, so it'd be the easiest thing to do would be to wide body it, but I don't really want to do that. I kind of want to keep this thing stock body. I kind of like the way that 350Zs look stock body, so that's kind of my plan as of now. But yeah, so let's get on into the interior and I'll show you guys around that. All right, so getting on into the interior, right off the bat, this is something that will need to be replaced. This car actually came with the heated seat package. I don't know which trim level that is, but yeah, these are heated seats. They are the OEM seats that came with the car, but this one is definitely going. I want to do a bucket seat. That's one of the biggest things I've heard from friends who drift, is that everybody doesn't swap their seat when they start drifting, and they eventually do it, and then they ask themselves, why did they wait so long to do a seat swap? So this will be getting a bucket seat eventually, get rid of this torn up old seat. Steering wheel, I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I don't know if I should just leave it factory. My goal is to be under $10,000 on this car with the car included, so I'm trying to keep it to a budget and keep it as cost effective as I can with the mods. And so maybe there is some stuff that would be nice to have but isn't necessary for the first, you know, stage of this car. And yeah, so the interior is not too bad. The door panels are, you know, naturally worn, but they're not too crazy. It's still got the floor mats. It's not missing any of the interior pieces, which is nice. It's got this little carbon bezel back here too, which is kind of cool. The center is still all here. Everything's good. Here's the Mishimoto shift knob. Thank you, Rem, for keeping this in the car and not taking it out when I bought it. Little phone mount that's stuck right here. I don't know if this thing even still, does this still work? Kind of. I've heard that this is an issue for most 350Zs. That thing's kind of janky, this whole piece. It's got the train handle heart, which I think's got to go. Sadly, I know some of you guys probably run this, but yeah, I'm good. I'm gonna get rid of that. The best way I can describe this car so far, obviously I haven't driven it because the motor, it runs, but obviously it's making a terrible noise, so I haven't driven it. But this thing does feel like a huge step up from the Miata, but like with way more amenities as well, and obviously it's gonna have more power and stuff. So I'm really excited to get this thing driving, because this does feel like the same formula, you know, the sports car formula, but with just a lot more stuff and a lot more room too. It's like the perfect mix of the Miata and the 240, I feel like. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, this seat's in pretty good condition. It's got some like dye transfer issues at the bottom, which is kind of weird, but not too bad. And then other door card's fine. We got a piece from the front bumper that fell off when I was moving the car. It was like one of the under tray parts of it. And then yeah, I'm gonna open up the hatch and we'll look back there real quick. So here's the back of it. It's obviously really dirty. It needs its first wash. That's something I'll be doing in a future video, but yeah, it is pretty clean. not too bad. I don't even know, I didn't check if it has the spare tire or not. Maybe we'll get, oh, it does have the spare. No way. Hell yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so we're in good business. It even has all the tools and stuff still. Perfect. That's good to hear. Got a cracked plastic piece back here. Like I said, this thing's gonna be a missile for the most part, so it's really not a big deal that, you know, there's some janky stuff on this. It'll all be fixed eventually. Right now, like I said, the necessities, getting it running, getting it driving, so I can get out there and actually drive this thing and enjoy it. So yeah, to sum it up a little bit, you know, the interior is not too rough, the exterior is definitely a little bit rough. I think everything's fixable for the most part. If you guys have any advice on how to pull the motor, if there's an easier way to do it, I've seen some people pull the whole front end of the car off, including like the bash bar and everything, and then just lift the motor out and forward. That seems to be the easiest way, but if you guys have any other ways that you recommend, I would really appreciate it. Also, going into the drifting talk of stuff and going on track, I think I'm going to run no angle kit once I get the car running. I don't want to overbuild this car and then not realize what the mods do, how they can help or hurt my skill level. I'd really like to try to drift just factory or just maybe a knuckle upgrade and get a slight amount of angle. I really want to try to perfect driving on somewhat of a stock setup so that I learn the good fundamentals and don't accidentally learn any bad habits like relying on an e-brake too much or relying on too much angle. I really want to learn at the grassroots level and slowly work up from there. I see a lot of people that overbuild stuff right off the bat when they go to drift. Obviously, I don't have a lot of track experience, so take everything I say with a grain of salt, but I feel like I've seen a lot of people that overbuild their cars sometimes and then learn bad fundamentals, and it ends up costing them later on when they could have just started, you know, from the ground up and kind of worked their way up learning the proper skills. So that's what I'm gonna try to do. That's what I'm kind of into. I like the grassroots style drifting. Obviously, Final Bout, I watch a lot of those videos and kind of inspired by those guys' cars, and so I see a lot of 350s out there at Final Bout as well. And yeah, that's kind of the goal, is to just get something that I can start driving and honing my skills. So I hope you guys are excited. There's gonna be a lot of 350Z content coming in the near future. I'm gonna obviously start pulling this motor and getting everything ready to go throughout the winter, and hopefully by next summer I'll be able to drive this thing on the track and show you guys that it is possible to do a budget drifting build. I hope you guys are excited as I am, and as always, stay tuned for more content right here on Jimmy Rigs.